It's Saturday morning again, and I'm on the boat at the club. At the moment I'm looking through the open pop top, clear skies. Looks like another glorious morning. I spent the night sleeping on the boat again, and I felt quite a bit colder last night, and that was actually the plan, to do it deliberately. And you might wonder why one would want to do that. Well, that's kind of the subject of today's video. You won't probably notice the difference, but this sleeping bag I'm using here is different to the one I was using the first few times. This is synthetic fill. It's a type of polyester. Unlike this down jacket here, which is similar to what the fill was in my other sleeping bag. Goose down is for those people who do a lot of outdoor activities. It's probably just about the warmest thing you can use in your clothing, in your sleeping bags, whereas synthetic fill is not as warm, but there are certain benefits to it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about them today. I'm going to talk a little bit about clothing today. But first, I think we're going to get up and we're going to go back to our trusty coffee shop and get some breakfast, and then I'll continue the discussion there. Some years ago, I was doing a course with a colleague of mine, and we got talking about my interests being technical diving at the time and his being technical climbing. And I'd come across some books by well-known climbers because I'd seen them compared to some divers that I was following. Well, one of them was Reinhold Messner, who was the first man to summit all 14 8,000 meter peaks. And I was really quite taken by some of the stories in them, and I said to him, have you read anything by Messner? And he said, anything by Messner is good. However, he said, have you read anything by Mark Twight? Because Mark Twight was one of the authors that he read a lot about. And I said, no. And he just kind of smiled, and we sort of left it at that. And years later, I'd actually started doing a lot of hiking and even a little bit of climbing, and I did a trip to the Himalayas in the mid-2000s. And at that time, I got interested in all the equipment and clothing and sleeping bags and what have you. And I was going through a bookstore one time, and I came across this book, Extreme Alpinism by Mark Twight. And I just remembered what he'd said. So I read it and found it to be really, really useful. Obviously there's a lot of stuff about technical climbing. I wasn't doing technical climbing, but I found a lot of it relevant to the stuff I was doing, both on that trip, but even locally in the Flinders Ranges. In particular, I found the chapter on clothing and also like sleeping bags and things like that, similar sort of thing, to be of great use. So Mark Twight advocates like this how can I describe it? A minimalist style to climbing, fast and light, and most importantly, he advocates an idiot-proof approach to it. So basically, if something was to fail or be useless in anything other than ideal circumstance, he'd leave it at home. So if he was using, for example, some sort of mattress, he would never use anything that you had to inflate, because if you're on a rocky ledge, something like that, and it gets torn or bursts, it's useless. So you use foam or something really simple like that. He'd also only use synthetic materials for clothing and sleeping bags, with a slight caveat that anything over 8,000 meters, and that wouldn't really apply, because if you're over 8,000 meters, which generally means Himalayas, so all over climbing you can do this. At that altitude, yeah, you've got to use things like goose down. It's just too cold. So you'll see most people in documentaries who are climbing Everest and the like, they'll have their down suits, and they normally only put that on in really extreme weather, which normally means anything above perhaps Camp 3. Up until then, it can actually be quite warm. The thing is, if you're always moving and you're always active, what you're going to find is you're going to end up sweating a lot, and you've got to be able to wick that moisture away from the body. And if you're wearing down suits or down clothing, it's probably going to get wet, and then it's not going to work very well. So Mark Twight would use synthetic materials, and I've started applying this myself in relation to sailing. So what kinds of sleeping bags I'm using, what kinds of clothing I'm using. This is polypropylene thermal underwear, for example. But I applied it a lot earlier for hiking, and I went specifically looking for, how can I describe it? Yeah, idiot-proof clothing, idiot-proof sleeping bags. And that was with this same view in mind. That's not to say I don't have a down jacket. I love my down jacket. And it's not to say I don't have a down sleeping bag. That's equally good. But I have found that they don't retain the same heat when they're wet, and I don't use them as much. They're great around the campfire. They're great filling dive cylinders up. They're great at the bar, whatever. They're great under those circumstances when you've got ideal circumstances. I don't mind using mine in the boat at the marina before I go to bed at night, but I'm trying to base everything on this same idiot-proof philosophy. And there's a lot of other things as well that he does, but for the moment, and given that this episode is all about clothing, that's what I'm focusing on. That's why I'm using synthetic materials. As long as it can do the job in the coldest of winters for Adelaide, and although it does get cold here, it's not nearly as cold as you might get in some other places. So synthetic materials should do the job, with the added bonus that if they get wet, they'll still do the job to a certain point. So that's my reasoning behind that. Furthermore, using the same philosophy, trying to find a more permeable outer shell so I can wick the moisture away. It's the same philosophy as to why I'm getting some particularly good wet weather clothing, that they should ventilate better. Or so I'm told. We'll find out. Just a message from Sarah. See what she had to say about things when she came outside her house, which is higher up in the hills, and was confronted with the fog. I'm sure this will be good.
Hey, not going out if this fog is like this. I can't even see. This is ridiculous. Speak to you soon.
Yeah, you're not a winner. No, I can't say I blame her. It was about 50 meters visibility, and to be honest, yeah, I wouldn't have gone out in that either. But it seems better down here. We're under what is a very low bank of clouds, but it's high enough that you can still see the tops of the smokestacks of the power station. And yeah, the rest of the conditions, except for the rain which comes occasionally. The rest of the conditions are okay to sail in. We're at our local marine shop, North Haven, which is really good because it's open every day of the week, which is actually unusual. You'd think with recreational hours, marine shops would be open through the weekends, but this is actually one of the very few, if not the only one, that you can get what you need on a Saturday afternoon and a Sunday. So if you need paint or anything else, we're down here all the time. And today it's wet weather trousers because we're going to go out and we're going to be sitting in a wet cockpit. So let's go in and see what they got and see if they have a wind. Because Sarah doesn't want to get wet bum. Morning.
Morning.
I need wet weather trousers.
Yes. I've got the Burke here, which don't have the not a big embrace, just the.
So it's, for me, I'm probably like a medium small, or sorry, medium, yeah, maybe large, but they come up pretty high up, is that right?
Yes, yeah, they do. So it's a small.
I'll give these a go. And for Sarah behind the camera,
Always behind
she's smiling, so she wasn't smiling before with the fog and whatnot, but it's not too bad now, is it?
It's all right.
You're coming out.
It's going to be wet.
You're not going to get a wet bum. I'm
Not
paying for
yet.
these. These are large. So I mean, they would be loose if it wasn't for that, but I guess you wear
That's
them
why
high
they're-
up,
yeah.
put them around, tie them around said fat belly. This is actually even better because these you can actually just you clip these out like that, tighten them up, just stick them back in there. Big reveal, out you come. Are they going to fall down?
No. You'd have to really pull on them, but no.
They all right?
Yeah,
I mean,
they've got pockets. No.
they're meant to be practical at the end of the
I
day.
do feel a bit like, you know, Hale and Pace?
Yes, yes, Billy and Johnny.
Yeah, Billy and Johnny.
Hello, Billy. Hello, Johnny. Hello, everyone.
No, not even We Are the Management.
That's
We
Billy
Are
and Johnny.
Billy and Johnny.
Billy and Johnny.
Okay.
That's really good. We've got some other ones coming. I've got the full, what do you call them? Musto ones here, which are really full foul weather gear. And depending on how I go with those, SJ might get some of them as well.
You don't need your cushion seat today?
I have my cushion seat. Let's go to see.
So we just had a little bit of fun. Daryl's at the front putting up the jib. I'm at the helm, and suddenly the boat was not moving or slowing down dramatically, and I'm calling to Daryl, telling him something's not right. It's the wind. We're going into the wind. Yeah, no, we were running around.
We ran aground for the first time. What was really unusual is we think we were in the channel.
We were definitely still within the markers, so that took us somewhat by surprise.
I mean, we weren't far away from it, but we were actually in the channel, and it's a shipping channel. So whether that marker doubles as a hazard, I'm not really sure. But I suspect it's very low tide at the moment, so I'm going to double check. But yes, we ground to a halt, but I was able to reverse the boat off it. Everything's fine. That's the first time we've run aground. But had we not been in a shoal draft boat,
Well, worst case scenario, we could have climbed out and pushed the boat off.
we would have sunk into the mud, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but we're okay. We're all right. We're just motoring on down the channel.
After we got off the bottom, SJ noticed a red light come on the motor. Now it's gone off. It just sort of hiccuped. I think it was just a minor glitch, but then we noticed that the outboard was moving by itself when we were turning the rudder. And
And that in itself is probably not completely unusual if they've got movement of water, but it hasn't done it before, so we're going to kind of quit while we're ahead. Rather than going out to the open sea, we're going to come back in closer, secure the sails. SJ might take a few photographs, because the one thing that low cloud is really good for is photographs, and then we'll go in and we'll probably call it an early day. The motor actually does need to be serviced, so I think I might actually do that before we go out again. Right, I understand you've got my new Mustu kit for me.
Yes, it did finally turn up.
That's fantastic. So
try it on, and so
I'll try it on.
Yeah, and it's the BR2.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a little bit more waterproof but still breathable.
So yeah, flat bottoms,
Yep.
red top visibility.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how we go. Let's go and try it on. What do you think?
Are they comfortable?
Feels pretty comfortable. I mean, essentially it's similar bib sort of thing as the blue ones we got. Obviously much more resilient. And the jacket, well, that's obviously another thing we're getting today. I reckon I might have worn something like this on the One and All. I'm not 100% sure. But
Oh, that's a really bright.
yeah, well, that is kind of the point. Is you don't intend to end in a drink, but it's always a possibility. I was tempted to go for black and black, but
Are you going to be able to fit something thicker underneath the jacket?
oh yeah,
if need
oh
be?
yeah, no question about that.
Okay.
How does that feel for size? Looks
Yeah,
good.
I think the size is fine. It was a good thing we did try the larger one that I looked at the first time.
Yes.
And there's certainly still room for putting stuff underneath.
Yep.
And I think the thing that I was most concerned with is the blue ones, good as they were. We went out the other day, we weren't working hard, but I'm still sweating like, I don't know what you'd call it.
Yeah.
It was only afterwards I found out, oh,
Not as breathable.
Not as
Yeah,
breathable.
Yes, yes.
Right, so
Hence
this-
the price as well. Yeah, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
part
but
of it, yeah.
this is more permeable, is that right?
Yes, more breathable, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But still waterproof.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's a win then.
Mm.
All right.
Yes, as long as you can move your arms around, bend down.
Yeah, no, there's
Gotta be able
plenty
to-
of
Yeah.
mobility,
Yeah.
comfortable. I'm pretty happy with that. And I imagine not that I'm going to be wearing these deliberately to wear them out, but it's going to be all right from sitting on a slightly abrasive surface on the boat and things like that as well. They're quite robust.
Yeah,
Is
and
that right?
yes, yeah. They do normally have the extra padding at the back.
All right. Let's do the business then.
No worries.